The Traveling Nardo is made possible by the Omega Foundation and subscribers like you. Thank you.
Let's do it to it.
A boy went back to Napoli because he missed the scenery, the native dances and the charming songs. But wait a minute, something's wrong, 'cause now it's
Hey Mambo, Mambo Italiano, hey Mambo, Mambo Italiano, go, go, go. You mixed up a Siciliano, all you Calabrese do the Mambo like a crazy with a hey Mambo. Don't wanna tarantella, hey Mambo, no more mozzarella, hey Mambo. Mambo Italiano, try an angelada with the fishy bacala and then hey Goomba. I love how you dance the rumba, but take some advice, paisano, learn how to mambo. If you're gonna be a square, you ain't gonna go nowhere. Hey Mambo, Mambo Italiano, hey Mambo, Mambo Italiano, go, go.
They are right. In order to get good Italian food, you gotta go right to the source. So good. Hey! I didn't think I'd see you here. Hi, everybody. It's Arlo, the Traveling Nardo here. Oh, here. You guys are a little too close right now. Let's zoom you guys out a little bit. There you go. Right now, I'm just enjoying a great spaghetti dish. In fact, this is angel hair pasta with pesto, and this is to absolutely die for. Yep, that's good. That's very good. So, I guess you're wondering, why are we back here in Italy? Well, everybody, I have a little treat for you all. You see, Travel HQ gave me a chance to kind of go out of the country for a little bit. And, they said I could go to any place I wanted to. Well, you know what? I wanted to go back to Italy. In fact, this is actually where the very first episode of The Traveling Nardo was filmed. How about that? But today, we're doing something pretty cool. We're actually going to be going to a very important location to not only history, but also to religious history. Yes, everybody, today, you and me are going to head to Vatican City and check out St. Peter's Basilica. It is the biggest basilica church in the world, and it is actually dedicated to St. Peter himself. The place is actually a Roman Catholic church that is just chock-a-block full of religious figures and all sorts of things. And we got special permission to film there, which is super cool. And I have to admit, I, for one, am very excited for this because I've always wanted to go to... I always wanted to go to St. Peter's Basilica. That's good. So, that's where we're gonna go. Are you ready to go with me to St. Peter's Basilica? You are? Yay! Alright. However, there is one thing that you need to promise me, though. Or actually, there's not something you need to promise me, but I need to say this as a little advisory. So, here, come a little closer. Now, before we head to St. Peter's Basilica, I need to give an advisory here. This episode is going to feature a lot of religious talk, as well as also do a lot of information about not only Roman Catholic or Catholicism stuff, but also the rites and things of the Basilica. It is in no way intended to persuade you how to believe in God or to believe in the religion that you believe in. You believe the religion that you want to, and I'll believe in the religion I want to. This is meant to inform. We're only informing you guys, and this will be information as well as historical stuff that you could use on probably your history exam or to throw out there at your family gathering. Now, I'll meet you guys in front of the Basilica because we gotta go to Vatican City for this. Let me finish up my meal, and then I will meet you there. And as they say to, say cheers here in Italian, salute. There it is, my friend. St. Peter's Basilica. This basilica is huge, and we are standing right now here in Vatican City. This is where the Pope usually resides, and believe me, here in Italy, the Pope is a big figure. To them, mostly about as big a figure as God is. Now, you're probably wondering to yourself, who is St. Peter's? Well, or I should say St. Peter. I don't know why I keep saying St. Peter's, but he was one of the 12 apostles of Jesus himself, and one of the first leaders in early Christian churches. He was executed sometime in 63 AD or 64 AD by Emperor Nero. Plus, St. Peter was the first pope of Italy. Or I should say, he was crucified. And many of us know, what crucifixion is. That is if you read the Bible and stuff. See this pillar behind me? It's actually an ancient obelisk, which supposedly dates all the way back to the 4th century. Come on, let's have a closer look at this before we go inside the church. This is an Egyptian obelisk that stands at 130 feet tall. In fact, it's even harder to actually get it into my camera. It was taken from Egypt and was re-erected at the Circus of Nero in 37 AD. It is also said that it stood witness to the crucifixion of St. Peter, earning it the nickname of the Witness. Let's take a better look at this if we can. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and see if I can move my camera around so you guys can actually see it. I brought my floaty cam with me so we can actually get a better look at some of these. On each side of this obelisk is actually Latin. It's actually written in Latin. What I'll do is that I'll actually put my camera in front of it and I'll pause it for a few seconds. And if you guys know what it says, please put it down in the comments so we can all find out. The obelisk was actually moved to this location sometime in 1586. in an operation that nearly ended in disaster. So this thing was almost destroyed by some sort of mistake. Now, the original basilica stood firm for about another 1,200 years, and there was a lot of concern that the original basilica itself was actually going to, crumble to the ground. However, something cool happened. On April 18, 1506, construction began on a new St. Peter's Basilica, which is what you see behind me. Construction on the new St. Peter's Basilica began under Pope Nicholas V. If we could find some images of them, I'll go ahead and put them over here next to me. Along with subsequent Pope Julius II, engaged some of the most important Renaissance artists to work on the building, including the likes of Michelangelo. In fact, one of his most important statues is located just inside. In fact, not only did Michelangelo work on this, but also Raphael and another person, which I'm going to butcher this name unfortunately, Bramante, also worked on this, and they all contributed to the plan for the new basilica. No, Michelangelo and Raphael are not turtles. Future me, fix it right now. Thank you. After some time, the new basilica was finally constructed after 120 years. Jeez. I guess they were trying to pull a page from LA, weren't they? On November 18th, 1626, the new basilica opened. And you know what? I know we're kind of stalling a little bit, but you know what? We got to get a little bit of history out of the way first. But now, let's go inside the building itself and check out St. Peter's Basilica. This is a statue of St. Paul himself. It was sculpted in 1838 by Adamo Tadolini and placed here in 1847. The entire statue itself stands at 8 feet tall. And if we back up the camera just a little bit, you can see how beautiful this statue really looks. Look at this. As we enter here into the foray, I'm going to pan the camera upwards so you guys can have a look at the artwork of this place. I mean, just look at the way that all this looks. Look at that. This is actually the tallest part of the entryway. But there are so many different places that this thing leads to. It's just amazing. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen. This is the inside of the basilica. I've only seen pictures of this, but oh my god, I am taken aback right now. Oh my gosh. Here. Let me pan the camera around a little bit so you guys can actually see what the heck what the heck I'm going gaga over. Just look at this. Pan the camera up just a little bit so we can see this, but look at the splendor of this. This is amazing, isn't it? So now we're inside the Basilica itself, and honestly you can tell that my voice is kind of echoing here. Also, we're the only ones here right now. That's because the folks here actually shut the place down just so that we could film. So many blessings to them. Grazie, my friends. Grazie, grazie. Behind me right there is our first stop on this tour. Because remember how I said that Michelangelo not only made this place or contributed to it, but back there is probably his most important piece of artwork. Come on, let's go check it out. This is Michelangelo's most important piece of artwork. I introduce to you the Pietà. It is a beautiful depiction of Jesus just after his crucifixion, laying in the lap of his mother Mary. Let's get the camera up here a little bit closer. Just look at how this is. This was all carved from marble. When Michelangelo was only 24 years old, he had carved one of the most famous works, the Pietà, from a simple piece of marble. And look at the detail too. Look at the detail on the hands. Can we get a better shot of that? Look at that. And this is all from carving, by the way. Right down to the feet, the cloth. This thing is beautiful, isn't it? This is probably one of the greatest pieces that I have ever seen. However, this statue, despite the fact that it looks so cool, sadly, you cannot get this close to it like we are right now. That was because of an accident that took place in 1972. In 1972, a deranged and mentally ill man, or I should say mentally disturbed man, took a hammer and a rock to the statue and broke off Mary's arm and nose. That man, I believe, was arrested. Nowadays, there's bulletproof glass that surrounds the Pietà. Because let me tell you something. Many of the statues in here are artifacts from way back in time that can never, ever, ever be recreated. This is a one-of-a-kind statue anyway. My God, this thing is beautiful. Getting to see this statue up close and personal is just, it's beautiful, you know? I mean, Mother Mary with her son, Jesus, in her lap after the crucifixion. This doesn't, if this statue does not jerk a tear out of you, I don't know what will. And by the way, too, folks, Michelangelo was also known for something else, too. He painted the big picture on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, which I'll post a picture of down here, which is basically God creating the first man. Yes, I know there's a little nudity in there, but, you know, back in the day, clothing was optional. And besides, they didn't have, you know, jackets, hats, or pants, or anything like that. Mostly fabrics, and maybe seldom sandals or something like that. But for this, we're showing everything. But now, let's continue on with the tour. These basins right here are holy water basins. There's another one that's also behind the camera. but these basins usually hold holy water. What is that, you may be asking? Well, here's the thing. If any of you have ever been to a funeral for your friend or for a family member or things like that, your priest or your pastor might carry a special bucket with them with what looks like another microphone, dip it in there, and then would basically sprinkle you with holy water. The holy water is meant to cleanse you, and meant to cleanse you of your sins. And it's actually rather refreshing because, if you've ever been to a funeral, sometimes they happen in the summertime. And well, when you're wearing the suit and tie and stuff like that, sometimes it's good to be splashed in the face a little bit with a nice little refreshing holy water. This program is not sponsored by it, but that would make a really good that would make a really good drink, wouldn't it? I don't know what I said just there, but we're gonna leave it in because I'm too tongue-tied to talk much because of the splendor of this place. This is probably the first episode that I'm completely tongue-tied. It's amazing here. This statue here is another one of St. Peter himself. It's a bronze statue as well, and it even has a little something interesting about it too. Some believe that this statue dates back to the 13th century. However, some scholars believe that this goes as far back as the 5th century. But this statue is also very important in here because of this. Many believers and many followers came in here to touch or kiss the right foot of this statue. And it's kind of become a tradition of sorts. This tradition was kind of halted during the pandemic, but here we are, post-pandemic. So, what the hey? I'll go ahead and touch it. Hopefully it's for good luck, or maybe good blessings. I don't know which, but still, it's amazing to see this kind of statue. And there are so many different figures inside of here. However, I need to kind of backtrack just a little bit, because I did mention about popes and things like that. This basilica also has the names of all 264 popes that we've had in time. However, out of those 264, or whatever I said, only about 160 something of them are actually buried right here on the grounds. Sadly though, I don't think we're going to have permission to actually go see those tombs. But just know that somewhere below us is the catacombs where all the popes are buried. Well, most of the popes anyway. Some of those other ones, unfortunately, were lost due to time or because their graves got disturbed. What you're seeing now is another grand architecture feature right here in the middle of St. Peter's Basilica. This is called the Papel Altar and Baldaccio. This is one of the most important artistic works in the Basilica, and it's the Baldaccio by Bernini, constructed entirely in bronze. And wow, this thing is so big. In fact, I think the this camera doesn't do anything justice. Here, let me see if I can pan the camera upwards a little bit so you can get a closer look at how beautiful this is. There we go, that's a little better. My camera can't go any higher than that, but now we'll get a better look at this thing. The papel stands over the high altar and is composed of 4 twisting columns decorated with bees. Hold it. Not real bees, okay? There are no real bees here inside the basilica. Just ones that were made out of bronze to put put on the papel. Okay, back up there, please. The symbol of Pope Urban the VIII, who commissioned the work, can be seen here. This statue that stands just to the right of the papel is a statue of Saint Longinus, spelled Longinus. It depicts the Roman soldier who pierced the side of Christ on the cross with a lance. And let me tell you something, this is one of those ones that is actually really huge. And it's quite beautiful too. This looks like it's made of marble as well. Every time that you come here and you see kind of a statue like this, you definitely gotta stop and just have a look-see at it, because my God, these things are just so beautiful. And the interesting thing too here about St. Peter's Basilica is that they have a lot of daily masses. In fact, I forgot to mention this when we were outside. The whole Vatican City outside can hold up to 300,000 people in a single moment, while in here, only 60,000 can come in and attend daily masses or come in to pray. We'll check that out in a sec. The statue next door to Saint Longinus is actually Saint Helen. She was the mother of Emperor Constantine the Great and the Empress of the Roman Empire. Here, you can see her carrying a cross. Get a better look at this. Take a look at the sculpture. Just take a look at the features here. It's very similar to the Pietà. But only here, look at that. My goodness. There were those bees I was telling about just a few minutes ago. The next statue over here is of Saint Veronica. This statue actually holds a cloth that she used to wipe the blood and sweat off the face of Jesus Christ himself as he was carrying his cross. The cloth was miraculously imprinted with the face of Christ, and the true relic itself is claimed to be housed in this basilica. However, several versions of this are said to be found. Speaking of relics, many artifacts or relics that were worn by the popes themselves or owned by them can be found here in St. Peter's Basilica, or they can also be found in certain churches around the world. However, in order to be classified as a relic, they have to go into 3 different categories. We'll start with this. Class 3 relics are basically things that touch a second-class relic, such as a piece of cloth, maybe even an article of clothing, or something to that effect. Second-class relics are things that touched or that were owned by the Pope himself. And then first-class relics, well, that's basically physical remains of the Pope himself. And that could be anything. Could be the bones, could be a piece of skin, could be other sorts of things. In fact, there are actually catacomb tombs located in and around Italy where people have actually made what are called cadaver tombs. In other words, rather than just simply have a flat stone or something like that, their cadaver tomb literally is their dead body carved out, or what they think happens, when they die. Maybe one of these days I'll get brave enough and we'll do an episode on death, all over the world. But that also means, too, having to go to some of these cemeteries. But it's fascinating to kind of see what happens to these popes after death. Which, you know what, that's a whole other story for a whole other day. The fourth and final statue over by the papel is actually of St. Andrew's, who holds his X-shaped cross. In this area of the Basilica, this is reserved for prayer. Many people will actually come here to come and pray. In fact, that's something that you can actually do at almost any church, as well as here in the Basilica. Here, follow me and let's get a little bit closer and have a closer look. This prayer area usually has a lot of different people that will actually come here to literally pray and reflect, but also ask God for help and His wisdom. Do you see the bars right here in the front here? Well, these aren't actually footrests. No. These are actually what are known as knee rests. See, in the Catholic religion, or Roman Catholic, many times you stand up, you sit down, you kneel to pray, you stand up again, sit down again. A lot of different priests have called this religious aerobics, but it's essentially how they actually pray. This is also because of the fact that many people who practice Catholicism know that there's a lot of strict rules, and the very strict Catholics end up having to do the same thing every single time. However, there are some people who call themselves recovering Catholics. This is because they quit being Catholic to go to a different religion, such as probably becoming Christian, or becoming a Methodist, or even being baptized and call themselves a Baptist. You guys may have actually seen something like this before. These are called confession booths. And confession booths are very, very popular in and amongst the Catholic religion. What happens is very simple. On one side, you go in. On the other side is usually a priest. And you begin with the words, "Bless me, Father, for I have sinned." And then you start telling the person on the other side, mostly a priest, what you had done. This was also to help with forgiveness. Now, you guys probably have seen these things parodied before, or even seen in some other movies. In fact, the first one that comes to mind is the film Short Circuit 2, when Johnny Five goes to this church and ends up inside one of the confession booths. If copyright allows me, or if I can find the clip, I'll insert it right here for you guys. If not, then I'll leave a link to the video description below to probably that same clip. But you may have also seen these things parodied in other cartoons, because in some cases it's actually kind of fun to make fun of these types of booths. Right there in front of us is the throne of St. Peter's. This is an amazing throne, and my God, this thing is super huge. Here, let's get a closer look at this and see what we think of it. Pretty cool, huh? But man, the statue behind me of the throne is just crazy. And we're actually in the bigger part of the church right now. In fact, here, let's spin the camera around and see what it looks like. So this is the view right here. This is what everybody would be seeing if, you're hosting a prayer service or a high mass. This is actually what the priest sees. And these areas right here, to the left and to the right of the of the altar are actually where you would find all the singers as well as the choir. The choir usually sits on both sides when it's time for the hymns. Speaking of hymns and music, the music that you're hearing right now is actually some different hymns and some other choir pieces that we were able to obtain. And it's amazing in here. In fact, most places will usually have a choir that sounds just amazing. In fact, they sound a little bit like this: a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4. Oh. No, they don't sound like that. Jeez. I mean, they kind of sort of do, but they're not singing Star Wars songs the entire time. Oh goodness, no. Here, let's go ahead and play one of the hymns. So this is a randomly selected hymn for your viewing pleasure.
Siamo qui nella nostra povertà davanti a te. Tu che di ogni cuore sai storie, luci, lacrime e verità. Dacci il tuo perdono che ci risana l'anima con la tua pace. Oggi è il tempo di ricominciare, il tempo di perdono della verità, per comporre in terra un firmamento, stelle sopra il vento di povertà e l'unità. Vieni dolce spirito, scendi col tuo balsamo, tu che lo puoi. Dove il cuore sanguina quando grida l'anima dentro di noi. Soffia via la cenere, dacci il tuo respiro di misericordia. Vieni Santo Spirito, rialzaci e rivestici di novità. Fa di noi il tuo lievito che nel mondo semina fraternità. Scendi fuoco limpido, scendi fiume carico di primavera. Oggi è tempo di ricominciare, tempo di perdono nella verità, per comporre in terra un firmamento, stelle sopra il
So good being back home again. And hey, it looks like you guys follow me as well. Come on, let's go into my living room and let's talk a bit about what we saw at St. Peter's Basilica. Come on. We've made it back to my base after we had a fun time at St. Peter's Basilica. You know, that place, man, I felt a little rejuvenated going in there. I mean, seeing all the religious stuff and seeing all the different statues and even, learning about, what everything symbolized. What was your favorite part of the trip? I liked it too. But really, I think my favorite part was literally just walking around through there and seeing everything from the beautiful paintings to all the structure, and just feeling closer to who made us, who made all of us. Now, of course, I did say at the beginning of this trip that this was to only inform, okay? Because I'm actually not Catholic. Nope. I'm a Christian Nardo who loves to travel. And you know what? This was something that Travel HQ didn't assign to me. This was something I wanted to do on my own. And maybe I might do more of these. But maybe go on a little smaller scale. Like maybe, I don't know, maybe take you guys some of my local places. Or maybe even take it to some other places that are still around that I remember from my childhood. Would you guys like to see that for future episodes? You would? Cool. Well then, I'll keep that in mind for something down the road. But that's going to do it for this episode of The Traveling Nardo. Excuse me. If you guys want to see more of those, make sure you hit the like button, don't forget to comment, and also subscribe. And make sure you hit that bell so that way you know when either myself or my good buddy VRC101, who happens to be my brother, uploads his series, VR Chat 101. Now, of course, we come to one of my favorite parts, and I know it's one of your favorite parts too, especially when we end. So, I'll see you folks next time. And until then, take care. But for now... Hey, wait a minute. Why don't you play us out? Here. Let me, here, let's do it like this. There we go, let's see. Are you left-handed or right-handed? Okay, some of you are actually right-handed, so here's the guitar. There we go. I'm sure you know how to play us out, because we do it at the end of almost every episode. Alright? So I'll see you folks next time. But until then, take care. But for now, do you remember how it goes? Of course you do. I'll count you in. A 1, a 2, a 3, a 4.